All right, so this weekend I did my 8th quick tournament. Last weekend I did my Blitz Championship, finished 2nd. I was pretty stoked about that, but I wasn't able to do a tournament recap because it's Blitz and I'm not able to write down my moves that fast. So we go fast forward to this weekend. I'm feeling real good, riding off that high of 2nd place. I'm now ranked about 1050 in quick, about 1,000 in Blitz. I just need to keep winning 2 games and I'm gonna have a good shot at raising my rating. So I go in, we get our ratings, and my first rating is against an 1830 rated player. So usually when I play in these quick tournaments, I'm faced with a much higher opponent, but it's more around 1500, which is a little bit better of a matchup for me. But I go up against this 1830 and I'm white here, so I go E4 here. He goes into Sicilian and I go here to G3 because what my chess coach has told me is that when you go up here on B5, you just take this knight and it takes away a lot of the theory out of the Sicilian. So he went over here to G6, I traded off the knights, and then he took with the D6 pawn, opening up the queen file, which according to the engine, going B takes C6 is better, but it's very marginal. I castle, just get set up in my setup. He fianchettos his bishop. I thought this is a weird move because then after fianchettoing, he just said, I don't want to use this bishop anymore. But I just continue with my development, try to get everything in to the center. I went here because I was afraid of something. I don't remember what it was. I think he was going here and here. And I just want to prevent that right away. So after he went there, he went F5, which I found very weird. Best move here is just to take on E5, which is what I did. He takes back. He has a slight advantage. I get my queen into the middle. He then pushes his back, so I have to retreat the bishop. And now he pins the knight to my queen. But I find this nice little move, queen to E4, equalizing the position. I actually have a slight lead at this point. So I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like this is a very good game. So he takes, I take. He has overextended pawns, and I have a slight advantage at this point. So he castles. I try to consolidate my rooks to the middle, and he pushes up here to F5, trying to get in. I get greedy, take the pawn, and that gives him the advantage from there on out. He has 1 point lead, and he goes over here. Now, in this move, for some reason, I spent 2 minutes on the clock thinking about this move. And the issue is this knight's coming down here. He's also forking my queen. I completely forget he's forking my queen, and I push the rook over here to C1, dropping my queen. And from there, it's all over. I was basically like resigned at this point. I played on trying to get something, but at this point, I just resigned. I had no heart left in me. And it was brutal because I was playing very well up until that point. So the first game of the tournament is a loss. And it wasn't much better from there on out, because in my next game, I play against the guy that I played in the last quick tournament, and I played in Budapest, I won. But in this round, he went E4, and I go into my Caro Kann, we go into our advanced variation, I'm thinking, but no, we go into a boring exchange, which is just fine. You just develop your pieces out. You know, you get your Caro Kann structure, everything's fine. He attacks, I trade off this bishop because that's the good thing to do. We're still in an even position at this point. I bring this bishop out, pin the knight to the king, and then he moves his queen over here to attack this pawn. And for some reason, I get really skittish when these bishops are over here on like this position because I castle. I'm thinking here, and then I have to like, I don't know, I have to lose my rook, right? Because yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I decided to go G6 instead, preventing that. And it kind of opens up everything from there on out. The bishop goes there. I then unpin my knight to the queen. And then he's coming in here looking to go here with this queen X-raying on this square. Seeing that, I throw a check. He goes to Z3. Yeah, it develops in. And then I'm like, oh, I'll cover this square. And as you can see, the eval bar just dropped. The reason being, you still have knight to D6 check, which was the best move at that point. But he decided to take my knight. I'm down a piece. And I don't take back. I say, hey, I'm going to take here, which makes my position even worse. He then moves here, puts me in check. I then move the king out. He takes my rook. And then I'm just not even better at this point. Everything was bad. I should have castled in that position is what it's saying. I wasn't in that great of a position, but according to that, I was a draw, I think, at this castle point. Yeah, I was actually winning if I castled in this position. I don't understand why, because you go here, I go here, and then, I don't know. You prevent this queen from getting in. I just was very uneasy about it. And so from here on out, he just picked me apart, and yeah, it was over from this point. You have check here, and that's mate, right? After here, and then you have mate here. So I resigned with 2 moves till mate. I'm 0-2 in this tournament, not looking good. I'm now on the last table in the tournament, which, if you know, the last table is probably the worst table to be at. psychologically and just on the appearance side, because it means you're playing the worst so far in the Swiss tournament. So I'm white here. I go e4, wanting to play Ruy Lopez, and no one wants to play me in a Ruy Lopez. I get another Sicilian defense. So I do my normal thing, trade him off. It's the same as the first game, except for he takes the B pawn here. I castle and he gets his bishop here. I then push here and push to D3. He goes here, and for what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to go E3 here is the best move. Instead, I push up here to E4, which it was a better move early on instead of pushing up to D3, which I found surprising. After moving this knight here, I take here, and now he's infiltrated, but I'm figured I have the big center back. That's fine. It's fine at that point. I feel like I should have been pushing my pawn up, but after this came down, I had to push here. And now I see this and he's looking here, so I push A3. He castles. I go here to knight to G5, attacking this. You can see that he's slightly getting better over each position. Bishop to H6. I should have taken the bishop instead. I push a knight to D4, attacking the queen, and drop a pawn. I move my king out of the way. The queen comes out here. I then reinforce this knight with my queen, kind of forgetting that this is here. Bishop comes here to attack that knight, and I push the bishop back, and that drops another pawn. So at this point, I'm now down 8 points, and things are not looking good. So I move my queen here. He takes another pawn, and I go here. The queen is protecting this knight, and I'm like, I am so screwed right now. He gobbles another pawn. I bring this knight back because I'm like, at some point, there's going to be back rank. I need to throw my knight here. It's going to be a sacrificial lamb. He goes here to A3, gobbles another pawn. And I take this E7 pawn, hoping that some miracle opens up, taking rook to E7. He then starts pushing the pawn, and I start coming down here looking to get these, gobble these up, try anything to stop this progress. He moves here, which gives me hope because this is still open. I push H3 because, hey, I don't want to have to sack my knight if I don't have to. The rook comes here anyways. And I say, okay, I'm putting this here. Looking to get my king here. Everything will be great. And here he makes the dubious move. Bishop takes H3. The move here instead that I would not be able to stop is right here. Queen to C3, looking to take here. The only way to save it is going back here on queen to H2. Either way, I'm completely lost. But after he takes bishop to H3, he hangs mate. And he's so mad, he just walks away from the table as soon as he makes that bishop move. And I got super lucky. I got super lucky. So that was the that has staved me off from probably the worst tournament performance I've ever had. Oh, he was tilting. As soon as he did it, I was writing out my notation and he's like, oh no. And I was like, yep. And he just walked up and got a drink of water and yeah, just resigned from the game. It was over. It was over at that point. I go into my last game. I'm like, okay, I just got to finish with 2. I finished, I think, all of my tournament games with at least a 2-point advantage. If I don't get this win here, it's my worst tournament yet. And I'm playing against this Preston Thompson guy. He's about a 1400 rated player. And so my ratings today were 1830. I have the guy that plays in Lee chess that just started playing over the board that was 2100. I had the third rated guy that I almost lost to that was rated about an 800 rated player. And now I have a 1389. So my rankings were just not advantageous for me in this tournament. And this is a very short game. And I'll tell you why. I go E4 and we go into a Caro-Kann. Great. I go into the fantasy variation being like, I kind of know this. I'll have some fun. And he goes E6. I develop my knight. Everything is great. I bring my bishop here. He brings the knight here to F6. Everything is pretty even at this point. I'm just developing my pieces. He brings this knight into A6. I now have some slight advantage. I bring my knight here. And then he looks to crack open the center. That's fine. I just take the pawn. He has that bishop move, which prevents me from castling. Oh, well. And then he moves over here to knight at H5, which is like a fine move in its own right. He's looking to go here, but I'll be fine. I move my knight here, and that gives him the advantage, but he loses it on the spot. The move here was queen to H4 check, losing 1. There's maiden 1 here. But the only thing that saves me here is G3, and I'm losing the knight, right? I'm losing a piece. But I go knight to E4. He doesn't see after he goes to E5. I take this pawn. Now, here I lost the game in a brutal fashion, and I didn't realize it until I was putting these moves in. He put this knight and took on G2, and I was so flustered because I was like, how did it even happen? Because I don't know. I wonder what happened because like when he moved here, I think he put it here. and I didn't see it at the time. I think that's just what happened. And then there was another illegal knight move somewhere in there as well. And I ended up getting like brutally checkmated, and I was like, I must have just easily been losing that whole game. And it wasn't. It was based on an illegal move that he made that I just didn't recognize as an illegal move. I think he went from here to here and I didn't catch it. And that's the worst part about over the board is the computer doesn't prevent you from making bad moves. I didn't call the arbiter because I didn't know that it was an illegal move until I was putting in my until I was looking over the notation. And it's not like I was like, I know it's an illegal move because all these moves make sense. Because I remember at that point, he went G2. And for some reason I was like, man, how did I miss that? It's because it was an illegal move. Look, Logie, it's a nerve-wracking experience playing over the board. And I was just frustrated. I was just like flustered at that point. I'm like, how did I drop check like that? So I lost that game, and I finished the tournament 1 out of 4. I'm just trying to be better. I think I lost only 6. I only lost 6 elo from my rankings. It wasn't too bad when it comes to my ratings, but in terms of my pride, it hurt a lot.